I'm Mark McKillier, and I work for Live Anabolic. And today's video is going to be about something that I keep forgetting. My cameraman's been begging me to shoot this video, and that is a video about the forgotten muscle groups, but I can't remember what they are. Kind of our, oh, thank you. Here we go. The forgotten muscle groups. So today, we're going to go through all 5 different muscle groups. I'm going to show you one good exercise for each one of these, and you're never going to forget like I just did. Okay, so let's just start at the top of the list. Number 1, our forearms, right? So guys, we really never show any videos about how to specifically target your forearms, okay? We're always working on our biceps or our triceps, the big muscles of your arm. But having big forearms still looks cool. It still isn't impressive, and it's great for basically being able to grip heavy items, okay? It's good for grip strength. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of real simple ways to target our forearms today, and I'm going to do them one arm at a time. I think it's easier to do, and the mind-muscle connection is much, much better if you just do one at a time. Now, for you guys that have barbells, all right, that's great because you can grab a bar with both hands simultaneously and go through these movements. But with dumbbells, it doesn't work nearly as well, okay? You really need to isolate a little better, and you cannot use much weight here, guys. So we're just gonna start off by doing some real straightforward wrist curls, all right? So my wrist basically is sitting on top of my knee, and I'm just gonna bring and roll that dumbbell up as high as I can. Now guys, don't just kind of get it parallel here. I want you to try to really contract your wrist, okay, as far as it will come up towards your bicep. And then let it go all the way down and up, all right? So we're just gonna go through this movement about 10 reps, all right? Now, before we move over to our other arm, while this forearm is still fatigued, okay, this is what I want you to do. Without any rest, after knocking out about 10 reps, rotate it over. Now, I want you to do wrist curls with an overhand grip, all right? All the way down and as high as you can bring it, all right? So you're not gonna be able to use a lot of weight here, guys, but that's okay. I really want you to just focus on the full range of motion, all right? And after you do 10 and 10, that's gonna be 20 per arm with no rest. You're gonna start to feel a burn in your forearm, okay guys? And you'll also start to feel your forearm get pumped up. So, I'm gonna do my right hand first, 10, with my palm up, 10 with my palm down, and then just immediately go over to my left arm. 10 reps, palm up, 10 palm down, all right? And that is just one set. So guys, I'm a big believer in doing at least 3 sets of muscle groups. Now, if you want to, you can go through all 5 of these forgotten muscle groups and then start back over, or you can focus on each muscle group, okay, without moving on to the next one. That's fine. It doesn't really matter which way you like to do it. It's kind of a personal preference. But don't give your forearms a real long rest period, because we're going back and forth. We're doing one arm and then the other one. So while I'm doing my left arm, my right arm, the first one I hit, is getting a rest, all right? So it's the blood flow is pumping through it here. It's getting that lactic acid being flushed out. So, when you finish the second arm, you should be able to go straight back over to your first arm again, and you can just bounce back and forth until you've done 3 sets on each arm. All right, guys, next muscle group are your calves, all right? We do tons of leg exercises that target our upper legs, our thighs, our hamstrings, and our glutes, all right? Because those are by far the biggest muscles in our lower body, but we forget our calves a lot of times. So this is a real straightforward, simple exercise. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do it. And also, guys, you can do this exercise while you're resting on other workout days, all right? So it may not be a calf day, all right? That may not be part of any of the muscles you're working. It might be a chest day for you. But while you're giving your chest a rest in between sets, this is a real easy exercise to work in there, all right? So instead of just wasting a minute or so of rest, do your calves. Now, two different ways, guys. All you need is some kind of an elevation to stand on. It could be a step, okay? It could be a 2x6 or a 2x8. This happens to be a 4x4, okay? So this will give me more flex, okay, in my calves and a better stretch. Now, guys, if you haven't been working your calves, and especially if you're a big guy, 300 pounder, okay, do them with 2 feet at first, okay? Now I'm going all the way down. I can feel my heels just barely touch the ground here. So that means I'm getting a great stretch. And then I really squeeze and come all the way to the top. And I like to basically bounce at the top. Now I'm not bouncing up and down, okay, but I'm coming up and then I'm doing a quick pop at the top. So all the way down for a nice stretch, up, and then another bounce and down. Now guys, eventually, this is going to get too easy, okay? So doing 2-legged calf raises just won't really get the burn going. You'll have to do, 40 or 50 of them, all right? This is the simple trick to make it much more difficult, and you'll only be able to knock out about 10 to 15. And that is just do 1-legged calf raises. So I have doubled the amount of weight on my calf. So nice stretch at the top, up and bounce, up and bounce, up and bounce. All right, so I went from doing my whole body weight, which is about 195 pounds, spread between 2 legs, to all of that focused on just one calf, and man, it's a radical difference, all right? So this is another exercise, because if we're doing 1 leg at a time, we're going back and forth. You don't have to rest as long in between sets, because while I'm doing my left leg, my right leg is getting a breather. So super way to add muscle group on a day where you normally wouldn't be focusing, all right? So get something done. Abs is another fantastic thing to do while you're resting in between sets, all right? But abs are not a forgotten muscle group. We're always working those, all right? So calves and forearms are 2 of the muscle groups that I'm starting to remember now. All right, this third one is actually not something that I forget, but I guarantee you it's a muscle group that you guys forget, all right? And that is your rear delts. All right, now our shoulders are a big, impressive looking muscle group, all right? I'm always telling you guys, don't forget to work your shoulders, because even when you're wearing a shirt, big shoulders look really, really good. I mean, it makes us look nice and wide and big and masculine, all right? But everybody can see this front delt muscle. There's 3 of them, the front, the lateral, and then the rear, okay? And the rears are the smallest, and they're kind of hard to work, and you can't see them. So that's why people never do them, all right? So I've always loved working my rear delts, and also for you guys with bad shoulders, this is a really good movement or exercise, and it should help strengthen your shoulder joint, all the muscles that go into your shoulder joint. This is going to help strengthen it and stabilize it, and hopefully make it easier to do some of the other movements that would normally hurt your shoulders. All right, so I love doing these. These are rear delt flies, okay? I'm going to do them with bands. I love doing these with bands, and I happen to have a pretty cool setup in my garage here. So I have 2 complete sets of bands. One is on an anchor point over here, and of course the other set is anchored way over here. This is about 10 feet apart. So I've created a piece of equipment here that basically mimics the cable crossover machine at the gym. All right, it's real good for doing flies or rear flies, okay? So you can't use a lot of weight, guys, all right? This is a pretty small muscle group, and to do good form, you're gonna have to go fairly light, all right? So I only have 1 band here, and I'm just gonna go through range of motion here just a few times, all right? And the key, guys, is to focus not on your handles, all right? Don't worry where the handles are so much. Think about where your elbows are. I want to try to get my elbows back behind me if I can, all right? So squeezing at the top of the movement, okay? And getting those elbows way back there. And when I do this, yes, I am working some of my back muscles, okay? But I'm also engaging those rear delt muscles, okay, guys? So nice, smooth, steady movement. And especially for guys with bad shoulders, you can use a real lightweight band here, but to make it feel heavier, come to the top of the movement and then hold it for a 1,000, 2,000 count, and then slowly return it. Bring it all the way back, 1,000, 2,000, slowly bring it back. So guys, our rear delts are important for stabilizing this ball and socket, okay, joint. It's real flexible. It can move in 360-degree angles all around us. But because of that, it's just not real strong. And that's why so many guys have had problems with the shoulders, and partly because you guys just don't work them, okay? You might pick up something over your head, all right? You haven't been working your shoulders, and man, all of a sudden, you get this burning feeling that pinches, you know, you got rotator cuff issues. Some guys hurt their shoulders because they were doing real heavy overhead presses when they're young. Well, this is a real straightforward, simple way to work a forgotten muscle that is gonna make you feel a ton better. All right, so what was that fourth exercise that was on my list? Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you, cameraman. Lower back, our spinous erectus muscles, okay? So, when we're working our back, guys, whether it's with dumbbells or the cable crossover machines or the bands, it doesn't matter. We're usually targeting our mid and upper back muscles, okay? It's a little more difficult to focus on our lower back, and so hence we just tend to forget them, all right? So this is gonna be a seated good morning, all right? They're called good mornings. You'll see people doing them at the gym. I've heard them, or I've seen them called, what have I heard them called? They were called.
Did you forget?
I forgot. What are they called? They're called, hyperextensions, all right? That's what I call them. But you need a special piece of equipment that, you know, you're only gonna see at the gym. So we're gonna basically reproduce that here, and it's real straightforward. I'm gonna be doing these seated, guys, all right? And I'm way out, you know, on the end of the chair here, guys, and I have a nice wide stance with my knees. And I'm gonna show you how to do it just with your body weight first, okay? And then I'm gonna show you how to add some weight with some dumbbells. So basically, we're just gonna cross our hands and we're just gonna bend over until we're looking down all the way. All right, now you can only go so far. This is also really good for stretching out your lower back, all right? All right, so try not to round your back too much, all right? So my head, my chin is down by my chest right now, all right? So try to avoid that. It might even be better to pick a point on the floor about 4 or 5 feet out in front of you, okay? And if you just stare at that, that'll help keep your back straight, okay, throughout the full range of motion here. So I'm just staring at a spot on the floor, okay? Nice, smooth, steady movement here, guys. And as you come back up, you're gonna have to engage your entire core. So you're gonna feel not just your lower back muscles contracting, you're also gonna feel your abs, your core contracting, okay? Now go through about 10 or 12 reps like this, okay? See how it feels on your back. If it just seems too easy, and it probably will be for some guys, you can just simply add a dumbbell, okay guys? Start with something real light, probably 10 pounds or so, and then work your way up and do sets with different weight dumbbells and figure out what's the correct amount for you. All right, so I'm just gonna hold this thing to my chest, okay? So this is how you would hold it if we were doing a goblet squat, for instance, all right? So I'm still gonna look at that spot in front of me on the floor. I'm just gonna bend down and then sit back up, okay? I'm really trying to keep my back nice and straight, okay? So it might even feel like you're arching your back, but you're not really. It's not being arched. It just might feel that way to you, okay? So look at that spot. Back up, no jerky movements, all right? Nice, smooth and steady throughout the full range of motion. And knock out about 10 or 12 of those. See how they feel, okay? If it's just too easy, you can try adding more weight, but don't go overboard, guys, all right? This is an exercise that I would rather you stick with a lighter weight and just add more reps to each set. So if 10 or 12 seems a little too easy and you've already added some weight, just go up and do 15 to 20 reps instead of adding the weight, and that will really help focus not just on your lower back, guys, but remember your lower back, your spinous erectus, that's part of your core, okay? So this is not just a back exercise, this is a fantastic core exercise. All right. the fifth and last forgotten muscle, your traps, your trapezius muscles, okay? We accidentally or inadvertently work our traps, not in a bad way, that's a good thing, when we do lots of these different shoulder exercises, but we normally don't target them specifically. I'm going to show you two different ways. One way is with dumbbells, another way is with bands. Now guys, it's a small range of motion. So I'm going to be holding the dumbbells. I'm going to show you in just a second. But this is the motion. I'm just holding the dumbbells to my side. I'm just going to bring my shoulders up as high as I can. I'm basically just going to shrug my shoulders. This is called SHRUGS, the name of the exercise. All right. And then I'm going to lower them back down. Well, look, that's not much range of motion. All right. And because it's a pretty big, strong muscle group, and because we're not moving, all right, our joints very much, you need a lot of weight to really do them effectively. So some of you guys aren't going to have heavy enough dumbbells at home. You're going to be surprised how strong you are. So these are a pair of 50-pound dumbbells. Now that's all I have. That's as heavy as I can go at home. These are adjustable, okay? And even 50s really are not heavy enough for me to do them for just 10 reps. So basically I'm just going to, I want to pick a point in front of me and just stay. I like to stare and bring my shoulders straight up, and then 1, 2, 3, down. So that was really 2 seconds, not 3. So it's really 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, and then bring it straight back up. You know, 20, 30 years ago when I was young, they used to tell you to roll your shoulders when you do shoulder shrugs. Don't do that anymore. Not good for your joint. I just want you to bring them straight up and then bring them back down. Full. All right, let your shoulders really hang down and sag. You don't need to bend over when you're doing this. Just look straight ahead. 0, 1, 2, and then back down. Now guys, if you only have, say, 20 or 30-pound dumbbells at home, you may be doing this exercise and you might find out that you can do 15 or 20 of those and you just don't really feel it, okay? So here's a little trick. Use your bands. Now guys, you're going to need all of your bands attached to these handles, okay? Because we're trying to get a really heavy resistance, okay? Much more so than we did with our dumbbells, all right? Especially for you guys that don't have heavy dumbbells. So I'm going to stand on them, and you're going to need to take a pretty wide stance. And the wider the stance, the shorter the length is here, which means the more pre-stretched resistance you're going to have. So if you stand real close together, all right, look how long the bands are. Then when I go to shrug, not much resistance, okay? So take a nice wide stance with all the bands on there, all right? Ooh, now just right here, I can already feel a lot of resistance. And then as I bring my shoulders up and stretch those bands, the resistance increases even more. Now guys, even with all my resistance bands hooked up, I can feel, okay, that this is no heavier than those 50-pound dumbbells I was just using, okay? Which means I gotta really kind of hold it for a long time at the top and then bring it down, all right? But by holding the movement at the top for a 2 count or maybe even 3 seconds and then going back down, whether it's with dumbbells or the bands, okay, it's gonna make the weight or the resistance feel artificially heavier than it really is. And that way, you're gonna get a whole lot more out of that exercise. And so if you don't have enough weight, hold it at the top of the movement for longer, do more reps, and then, I promise guys, you're gonna start to feel a burn, all right? The burn means it's working. It means you're putting a lot of stress on that muscle, more than it can handle, and it creates lactic acid because your blood can't flush that lactic acid out fast enough because you're overworking the muscle. So you're gonna feel the burn, knock out about 3 sets of this, okay? You're gonna feel these things get a big pump. It's a good feeling, but it's a pretty good sized muscle, and when you finish doing these, if you do them right with enough resistance or enough weight, you're gonna feel like you're the Incredible Hulk walking around like this, all right? It's a cool feeling. But it's also gonna make you look bigger, okay? Even with your shirts on, guys. It's another muscle group that pokes through, that bulges through your t-shirts, and it looks really cool. All right, guys, so why were these called the forgotten muscle groups? Well, they're not all that glamorous. They're not biceps, right? They're not quads. So anyway, that's why we tend to forget them and not focus on them. But they're still really important, okay? Not just for looks, from an aesthetics point of view, but in many cases, like your rear delts, they're really important to help stabilize our joints and make them stronger so that you don't get injured. So guys, you're not gonna knock these out of the ballpark in a week or even two. You gotta stick with it and never give up on yourself.